You thought you were done with us for today. Oh no,
Nope.
Monfrere, we're back again. It's Charity Bowl season, and we're doing Rainbow Bowl. This is the first official Rainbow Bowl, and we were lucky enough both to get invites. I didn't realize this, but myself and Jeremy are in the same freaking division. So I said, I'm about to pick. Should I go live? He said, hold on. That's Luke Skywalker, baby. Skywalker. Yes, the first Star Wars fans. We need to like hashtag the Star Wars people for this and just have fun with it. But yeah, we're representing the Rainbow Bowl, which represents the Trevor Project. If you want to go check it out, I think it's a very worthy cause. It's something we're looking to. We'll put it like in the description. So highlight to Treasure Project. So anyone wants to donate some money to that. Be ever grateful for you guys, but who's ever joined us, thank you for joining us again. Second edition on Friday. Jeremy, how you doing after this is like your fifth stream of the day at this point?
Yeah, had a good show with you guys talking about Scott Fishbowl, which kicks off on Monday. I had an amazing show with Tom Strachan of Fantasy Pros and Fantasy Sanctuary and all the good stuff that he's doing over there with Best Ball. So that'll drop soon. And now ready to get into it in the Rainbow Bowl. Let's go. It's like 1 a.m. in the morning here. Who cares? But we're all in, baby. Let's go. We're all in. Rainbow Bowl. I'm ready.
All right, let's pull this up. So as you can tell, my ugly mug is on the clock right there. I am pick 7. This is a super flex, 4-point passing touchdowns, and 6-point rushing. It's pretty standard. I think the only bonus is really 0.5 tight end premium. So like outside of that, it's pretty standard. With it being redraft super flex, I look at it a little bit differently. But when I found out it was 4-point passing touchdowns, you will see if you look at the quarterbacks here, there is one quarterback that is projected to score more points than any of them. No, it's not CJ Stroud. No, it's not Joe Burrow. It is Anthony Richardson. And you know how I feel about Anthony Richardson. He is going to be my pick because fuck it. Like, I'm all in on Anthony Richardson. I think he's a stud. Yeah, sorry, Jeremy. It ain't happening, bro. I was like, I could go CeeDee Lamb. I think that's a very good pick. By the way, it's start 2 wide receiver, start 2 running back, and then there's a couple flex spots after that. So ideally, we just want the high profile guys, and there's nobody with I think that could break fantasy more than Anthony Richardson. Like we saw CeeDee Lamb do it last year. Like you're talked about a little bit, like you're a little bit lower on him, so it makes sense. I just don't see him differentiating himself from Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra. I don't want to be the first guy to take a wide receiver because there's so many good ones. You could talk yourself into Bijan or Brees here is actually I think another good place you can go. Yeah. Or you can go tight end, but I think this is a pretty no-brainer for me. So this is why I'm personally going to take Richardson. I'm going to pass it to you, and we'll see where you go because we haven't talked about your strategy. I'm very curious to see where you're going to go with this because I can pass that Richardson there.
Yeah, this is the discussion because I was going to take fucking Richardson. But you got him at the 107. It makes sense. CJ Stroud is compelling. If you can pull up, can you do the all in terms of the ADP here, just so we can have a look at who's available. So as you can see, CJ Stroud is there. We have CeeDee Lamb, who tops the list. Yeah, I'm lower on CeeDee Lamb. He's my wide receiver too. He might be my wide receiver 3. But he's right there. I love Jamar Chase, of course. Justin Jefferson, I'm low on this year. He's only my wide receiver 4. So, all those guys are awesome options. I think tight end is probably a little too early. It's only a 0.5-point premium here. So I'm more comfortable with those guys in the early second as opposed to the middle of the first. If I'm not taking a receiver, and I don't think I am, you kind of mentioned it at the top. It could be Breece Hall. I'm a big Bijan believer instead. But I'm just having such a hard time passing on quarterbacks here in the middle of the first round. Anthony Richardson kind of was a tier here. But if I look at QB, I got my eye on 3 guys here. I got CJ Stroud at the top. We got Joe Burrow. Either of these guys can throw, probably can approach 40 touchdowns this year, which is kind of what you need when you have a 4-point per passing touchdown guy. You want to hit those high volume touchdown throwers. And that's why the third guy that I'm considering here is Kyler Murray, because he can get it done on the ground with his legs. The problem for me is that offense is just not good enough for me to justify Murray at this pick. I could see him at the 110. But when we're talking about the 108, That's tricky. I'm leaning CJ Stroud here. Because I just don't know what's going to be there when I come back around. If you
Yeah.
were faced with this pick, and before you speak, I'm going to say I'm about 85% CJ Stroud here. But if you were leaning in this pick, what are you thinking here?
So, you know me, I'm a little bit lower on these passing quarterbacks in this format. Like, I think Mahomes is the one true passing quarterback where you can get the like 25 punch per game type stuff. I have a hard time with Stroud and Burrow and these guys. Like, I think Kyler's in that range. I think you could honestly make the case for Jordan Love. Like, it's not going to shock me if Purdy gets close to these guys in scoring. That's kind of my whole issue is I don't see them separating themselves from the back. So I would personally go whichever position you want to go with. I would go wide receiver. I would go for your wide receiver one, or I would go from your RB1 if that's Brees Hall, whoever it is. And I would take the ceiling shot because that's what you're going to need to win this, right? Like all these guys have a super high floor, so I don't really think it really matters how you construct it. I just think if you think one of those guys is going to make it back to you in the second round, then I would be happily grabbing one of those guys in the second round because I get the feeling probably one of those guys falls in the second round is my guess, but I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's just, are you okay with say like Kyler as your QB1 or go down a little bit further? You get guys that are a little bit lower. So you could go into like, you could end up with like Jordan Love, Kyler Murray, maybe Brock Purdy as QB1, but you're kind of pushing down ADP. So it's like, that's the difficult spot here.
Yeah. And with running back, I'm not super sure that I want to go RB1 here early, but I do like the idea of hero RB, especially this year. I think zero RB is a little rough. You'll see a lot of people doing zero RB as well. Go get your hero at least, especially in these tournaments. But this is a tricky one for me. The one thing that I like in the first round is I like elite upside, but I like elite floor and elite ceiling. And for me, CMC and Tyreek Hill both offer that. That's a locked in guarantee when those guys are healthy. Bijan and Brees Hall likely offer that. CD and Jamar Chase likely offer that. But we saw what happened to those guys last season, all of them, right? With the exception of CD, when things kind of didn't go their way with injury or coaches or whatever the heck was going on there. I'm going to go ahead and pick a guy I believe in. It's not ideal. Richardson was ideal, but I'm taking CJ Stroud here. I just think with the addition of Diggs, listen, he has the elite floor that we're looking for. He's going to ascend in his second year. He's got Stephon Diggs. So they brought in an alpha to pair with another alpha to, pair with a third alpha who's going to be in the slot, who CJ Stroud thinks is one of the greatest of all time, and Tank Dell, right? Collins, Diggs, and Dell is one of the best wide receiver rooms in the game. And, they went out in the second round. They took a left tackle as well. Joe Mixon they brought in to have a better rushing attack. Bobby Slowick is back. I just think that CJ Stroud is really going to have a difficult time not improving on what he was able to do last season. Last season, he had 23 TDs, 4,100 yards. He played 15 games, and I'm just checking out his snap percentages here. He started off slow, and then really since the bye week in week 7, QB 23, and then QB 1, QB 9, 13, 4, 15. He had a nice little stretch in there. He showed us what he can do, and now he's got everybody healthy. He's got better weapons, presumably better protection. I think the sky's the limit. He should be a top 6 QB in any format this season.
Yeah, I think if you're looking to chase a ceiling shot from passing quarterback, like I think you have a very good chance with them because of all the things you just listed, right? So it's all setting up for him. It's year 2. Like this is his rookie year. I don't know. Yeah. Like we still need to see him take a little bit of a jump, but like he has everything there for him to do it. So like I think that it's just an extremely high floor play. Like you're not going to be disappointed taking CJ Stroud this range in your draft. Yeah. I think if you wanted to flip him and Dak, I would not really care. Like I think both of those guys have a really good shot this year. I am a little bit more worried about Burrow than those guys just because of how that offense is set up and what they're going to do. But like we've seen Burrow, he's kind of been up and down a little bit. I think he'll be a little bit lower than those guys. But like I think you're splitting hairs. It's just really what you're chasing and what you value. So if you value him there, 100%, I don't get. And like we see, like right after goes the two elite wide receivers. What's interesting is Justin Jefferson's still on the board, and I wouldn't be shocked to see Amon-Ra go above him, which is kind of crazy to talk about, but that's kind of where people are at with Justin Jefferson. So if y'all want to just let me take, let Justin Jefferson slide to the second round, I'm not going to I'll happily take him, but I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be interesting to see how this draft shakes out. But yeah, it's fun. It's all strategy, right? You see how it goes. We'll be looking back in a few months and be like, man, that was stupid, or I feel like a genius one way or the other. There's no middle ground for this, right?
Oh, goodness. Absolutely. Now with me taking Stroud here, like I said, I'm happier with the floor than the ceiling, but I think the ceiling case is there. The question is, what am I doing next? If I look at, and this is before Jesse picks, so I can feel free to divulge all my thoughts, and Jesse, you might want to hold some back. That's totally fine. If we look at everyone who's available here, Jesse's, I'm the pick before Jesse, so Jahmyr Gibbs should be available to me. That's super interesting. But I could also double up on QB. I do not mind a Stroud Dak stack here. Get the two Texas quarterbacks. I mean, even in 4-point, I think these guys are going to go awesome. But I probably would lean Murray over Dak. That's going to be a tough decision for me. But yeah, I don't love, assuming all of the guys above the line go. If it's my choice between Gibbs and Dak and Murray, and I'll throw Jordan Love in there because I am a Jordan Love lover.
Yep.
I mean, those are probably the guys that I'm looking at. I like JT. Laporta is interesting to me. I think he's a lock for a top 4 at worst tight end finish this season. So again, elite floor with the potential for elite upside. I love that. And in the early rounds, I'm trying not to get it wrong, but I'm also trying to get it right. Gibbs is awesome, though. I mean,
yeah, that's the thing.
It's going to be really tough. If they're all there, I will probably lean Gibbs or a quarterback here.
Yeah, and like it's all about. I think it's all about chasing that singular range of outcomes because, right? Does it matter if you finish second? No, not really. Like you know what I'm saying. We're all shooting for first here, so I would go with the guy you think has the best way of differentiating himself at the position. If you believe that's Laporta at tight end, like I clearly don't, but maybe you do. You know, they're wide receiver, maybe there's wide receiver, running back, or quarterback, like we talk about. With me, with how these quarterbacks, I'm expecting a couple quarterbacks to go. So like I'm not really expecting to have Kyler there or any of those guys. So I'm more than likely going to take a skill position player just because I expect this draft to go. And we'll see. People love wide receivers. So I'm curious if like we keep getting these wide receivers going. Like I could see AJB going, I could see Puka going, I could see it where it's like Marvin Harrison Jr. is the first wide receiver available. And if that's the case, I'll probably go running back too. But like it's it's going to be interesting. So I'm curious to see how this draft shakes out. But I'm excited. It's fun, man. This was all about.
Yeah, if Bijan is there, I'm going to smash him. I mean, like there's no way I'm not taking Bijan there. But like you said, if Dak, all right, so let's assume Burrow goes for sure. Let's assume Dak goes. If Kyler goes, there's a chance that one of Brees or Bijan is there. And if they're there, awesome. I'm going to smash one of those guys for sure. I think I'm going to risk it for the RB biscuit there and bypass my QB2. Unless it's just Love left, right? If Dak and Murray and Burrow go and it's just Love, that's going to be a tough call for me.
Yeah, I think you're going to get one of those top running backs if it's Gibbs. I mean, I don't know if people put JT up there. I don't, but maybe they do. I think one of Bijan, Gibbs, or Brees is probably more than likely there. So if they probably those top two wide receivers go, I expect someone to take Burrow. Someone probably takes Dak, give or take, depending on maybe they got Kyler above. And then you're looking at your quarterback or running back or wide receiver one. I think it's a good problem to have. And then in the third round, you'll probably get your choice tight end if you want to go that. So like that's how, with the tight end premium, get a little bit of a boost from that.
Yeah, I definitely want one of these top guys. I know you're with me. I know you love McBride. I don't love him as much as you do. He's good for sure. He's a top 5 guy. No question about it. I love, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've heard the top 5. I've heard got to get the top 5 tight ends. I've heard got to get the top 6 tight ends. I got to get the top 7 tight ends. Evan Ingram. is in that group for me. He is one of these sevens that I want to get for this season. I just think he's going to absolutely eat again. So is he a tier down from the other guys for me? Yes. But he's right at the top of that tier. And if I miss out on the top 6, I'm going to absolutely do whatever I can to get Evan Ingram. So I'd say by round 5, depending on how fast these tight ends go, I will more than likely have a tight end as well.
Yeah, and if you end up with Dak, you could always get Ferguson as like the late round tight end target because we both know he's going to get targets, right? So you could go that route too. So a lot of fun strategy with these tight ends. Like I like a lot of these. I'd say the cutoff is really Kittle, where I know I'm going to get boom weeks from Kittle, but it's just going to be up and down. Like I could live with that. Like and then we get past him, and I'm like, maybe Njoku. I don't know, man. I don't really trust what's going on with Watson. So you get in this whole situation, right? We've gotten over this 1,000 times this offseason. It's like we're just rehashing the same things again with it. So it'll be interesting.
Listen, for sure. Yeah, but we'll see. Just curious. I think I go. Let's assume Burrow's gone for sure. I think I value them in this format with 4-point passing touchdowns. Oh, it's so tough. I probably value them Dak, Love, Murray, but it's like it's splitting hairs between these 3 guys. It really is.
Yeah, in my redraft rankings, I have it Kyler, Dak, and then CJ Stroud, and then Love. But they're all freaking close. Like if I'm not really gonna say Kyler's a tier above. They're all in the same tier for me. So it's just I'm just chasing that rushing ceiling with him because he's coming off the ACL. That's the whole thing for me. Like I love rushing quarterbacks. But if you ended up with, you're not going to be sad to have Dak or any one of those guys in that range because it's a really good quarterback who can. We've seen it with Dak. He was basically the QB1 last year. The guy was freaking stud. Yeah. Second half, he had like 27 points per game, something ridiculous. Second half stretch, he was just on fire. Now, I don't think he's going to do that again for a full season, but like he'll give you 20 plus, and that's a nice place to be.
I'm looking at my rankings right now. CJ Stroud 5, A-Rich 6, Kyler 7, Burrow 8, Love 9, Dak 10. So they're all right there. It's Kyler and his rushing upside that I have in his own tier. And then as we've talked about a few times, Burrow, Love, Dak, and Purdy in their own tier because they all have the potential to throw 40 touchdowns, but we know they're not going to get it done with their legs. So that rushing upside of Kyler is really, really hard to pass up. Even though I just ranked him 3rd of these 3 guys, he's actually 1st in my rankings. I'm really going to have to think about this one.
Yeah, I like this because when you're drafting on the clock, it kind of helps you. Like you have your rankings set one way and you actually find yourself leading another. Like, I might need to adjust my rankings a little bit because like I think I have Richardson. Did I have him as high as I do? I need to double check. But yeah, I have Richardson at QB4 on the season. I'm actually having him above Lamar. So like I am, and that might sound bullish, but like that just shows you where I'm at with this guy. So like seeing him 107, I was like, fuck, I gotta smash it. Like I can't not take him there. So it's interesting to see what these rankings. I'm curious. We see this wide receiver run. Like are these running backs going to keep getting pushed? Like we're only starting 2 wide receivers here. I know it's full PPR. I think maybe we might be laying in the wide receivers a little too much, depending on how this turn goes. And back to you. Well, we'll see.
Here's the thing that's crazy is that zero RB is the rage, right? I know we went 2 years ago. There were hardly any 0 RB teams, and it's because 3 years ago RBs went absolutely nuclear and won people leagues. Then 0 RB, the wide receivers were a value, and you could scoop up 3 top 10 guys in the first 3 rounds. But then 0 RB worked. So then the talk the next season was, well, hero RB, right? We still want to RB. We want to get RB. And that was the trend and the rage. And still, the people who went 0 RB last year ended up benefiting. Tom Strachan was on the show just earlier, and he was talking about the fact that in all of the major best ball tournaments, 0 RB was the winning strategy last year. I think with the exception of maybe 1. So super interesting that, now 0 RB is the mainstream. So people are pumping up these wide receivers. Don't do it, because when everyone's special, no one is, right? If everyone's saying that these wide receivers are special, then they're not, because they're not the value, and you're hunting for value. If these running backs get pushed down, I mean, Gibbs, I don't know, but if Brees or Bijan are there at the 205, I mean, that's a smash for me. They should be going here.
So we were actually talking about this last week, where it's the influence of best ball and underdog in these ADPs are starting to creep into home leagues, and like you'll see this like in these underdog tournaments and like these wide receivers are flying off the board. You have to take them.
Yep.
And think in this format, like we'll see how it shakes out. But like we could have some best ball guys in here. Then that's why all these wide receivers are getting zoomed up. So this is what I was kind of worried about with these drafts going into the season. I'm like, man, wide receivers are going to get steamed up. So if it's you want to still get the elite wide receivers, so you kind of have to find that breaking point.
Sure.
And like with your quarterback, you have to find out like if you want the Texans guys, I'm assuming you do, right? And when to take those guys. Yeah. But like it's interesting to see, and I think we'll see that in home leagues particularly, where these like running backs are keep falling further and further. Like you'll get like a Derrick Henry in round 4 of your home league, which he was round 1 like the last like 5 years. You know what I'm saying? So like it's interesting to see, and like and we talk about the underdog, like those ADPs are just cracked out with wide receivers. Like you got to get them because you're going to miss out. And if that creeps into a league like this, because we're still in July. So I think a lot of people have that best ball mindset with these wide receivers. So it wouldn't shock me to see people just hammer wide receiver in our league. So I'm curious how, like we talk about the Scott Fish Bowl and all the individual leagues with this Rainbow Bowl, same type of thing, right? Like I'm curious how ADP shakes out in each league, because you could have different managers with different mindsets. So our league might look completely different than another league, right? So that's always something to bring into it too, because it's just interesting like this. I mean, like this stuff, I could just look at this stuff all day and talk about it forever.
Well, let me ask you a question here. Let's assume Justin Jefferson doesn't go here. When does Justin Jefferson go? Because I'm guessing that these guys who have picked a wide receiver don't totally feel the need to get Jefferson, but a start with 2 top 5 wide receivers is pretty nice as well. So, I don't think he falls all the way to me at the 2-5, but I mean, Justin Jefferson falling into the second round is like ridiculous. No.
Right. Yeah. This is the whole, because people are worried about his quarterback, even though, by the way, people forget he averaged over 20 points per game with backup quarterbacks last year. I don't know how many times we got to talk about this. Like the dude's a stud. Like of those skill position players, I think they all take a bigger hit than Jefferson, because like with these, if it is Darnold, like they consolidate the targets around the best player. This is how this happens with backup quarterbacks. They're not that good, or rookies. So like, I think Jefferson's going to get his targets. It might not be as efficient, but like he's the one guy I trust in that offense compared to the other ones. Like I think Addison's going to take a hit. Who knows when Hawkins will come back? Jones has never really been like a high volume guy, right? So like he's going to be getting some work, but it's interesting to see. So yeah, I mean, if Jefferson falls, I would be thrilled with that. But or AJ Brown, like JJ Brown's just chilling right there. I think he's super high floor, and then you got to get it's just all about team building, I think, with these guys. Puka, I love Puka. I think it's back and forth between those two like all the time. Like I could go either way with those two guys. But if you're going to give me Jefferson, I'm like, dude, he's the best wide receiver in the NFL. Like, I think you just got to take him as how it is. So we'll see. We'll see. I don't know.
You know who's good at football? Sam Darnold and JJ McCarthy. They're pretty good at football. They're good enough. They're at least, Brock Purdy. You know who's really good at football? Kevin O'Connell. You know who's not so good at football? The Minnesota defense. Like, Justin Jefferson is necessary, right? And whatever you think of his situation, Jordan Addison's in the best shape of his career. Like, no, Justin Jefferson's on another 3, 4, 5 levels above anyone else on that team, even a healthy TJ Hawkinson. He's going to command close to the number of targets that he always has. Will they be, targets of lesser value because, they won't be completely accurate all the time? Sure. Is he likely to be a little bit more covered than he was in the past because they don't seem like they have a super viable, threatening run game, and they have these younger quarterbacks? Sure. But yeah, we're talking about a guy who should see easily 160 targets, and you're going to slip him to the second round. I think that's a ridiculous value.
Yeah, I think he's a very good player, and the situation is probably better than people expected it to be. Because what happens if either the backup quarterback Darnold or the rookie in the second half of the year, like he comes on strong, right? And I know we kind of discount these players in situations, but you kind of have to look at it both perspectives and both lenses, right? You have to look at the upside and the downside with these players. Like it's the reason why I love Devontae Adams. I think the floor is insanely high with these guys, and if they hit the ceiling, Justin Jefferson, like we've seen Justin Jefferson, he did it last year, like with a backup quarterback, over 20 points per game. Like that's. We just overthink these things too much, and sometimes we talk ourselves into bad takes or bad players, and we're like, you know what? I probably overthought that one. It happens to us all. Even as fantasy analysts, we do this all the time. It is what it is.
Yeah, I hear you. And when he came back, it took him one game to acclimate. Weeks 15 through 18, 10, 10, 10, and 14 targets. He finishes the wide receiver 22, 7, 34, and 1 over those last 4 weeks with who at quarterback? I don't know. Can you what's his name? I don't know. Who cares?
Was it Josh Dobbs? It was like Dobbs. Somebody else, wasn't it?
No, I think Dobbs was traded at that point, wasn't he? Or no, he was traded to Minnesota. I think he was benched at that point.
Yeah, he might have been.
It's got to be who's the backup now?
I'm blanking on it. I mean, that's who I'm blanking on. I feel like we're dancing around whoever this is. I'm looking it up right now.
Mullins.
Now I'm like,
it has to be Mullins.
Oh, is it Mullins?
Let me check.
Probably
I'm checking his game logs here.
Yeah, they have Dobbs, they had Mullins, they had Jaron Hall.
Yeah.
They had a bunch of guys at quarterback last year. Yeah. So
from week 15 through the end of the season, Mullins played 3 of those games at 100% snaps, 1 game at half snaps. I don't know why. But yeah, it was Nick Mullins.
Yeah, I mean, he still averaged. Justin Jefferson averaged 106 yards a game last year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the worst? He gives you 80 points per game at like minimum. Like, that's what we're talking about. Or not 80 points per game, 80 yards a game, 80 points per game. Yeah, this got to be the first pick I did every draft. But yeah, 100% with you. Like, I've been like, all right, we gotta stop doing this. I think it's interesting with Chase and him. Like, that's a fun discussion.
Yeah.
Where we talk about Amara, like you and him. So. Yeah. Yeah, I still have him over Chase, but like it's splitting hairs. I'm not really gonna fight anybody over it because I have him. I think I don't. 3. Yeah.
Yeah. Who? JJ?
Yeah, I have JJ 3, Chase 4, and then Amon-Ra 5, and Puka 6. So it's kind of like I think the one thing I'm gonna struggle with is when I get on the clock here, it's gonna be probably between Puka and AJ Brown, and I have Puka above AJ Brown, and do I have the strength and intestinal fortitude to see that through? We will find out because I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough. We will see. Yeah. We will see. That'll be fun.
I have Amon-Ra 8. I don't know how I feel about that.
Oh boy!
But here's who I have over him. The big 4. AJ Brown, I have 5. Puka, I have 6. I had to move him up. I just think he's a monster. Garrett Wilson, 7.
Spicy. That is spicy.
Wilson 7. There's nobody else there. There's no one else there.
Yeah, I know. It would not shock me. I think we talk about high floors. I think Amon-Ra is that. Like, he was basically 20 points per game last year. Like, he took that step forward. So, like, I think I was actually looking at stats, and like I was looking at Terry McLaurin versus Garrett Wilson, and Terry McLaurin has outscored Garrett Wilson by like 50 points the last 2 years. And I'm like, dude, God, help this guy get him a quarterback. So Rodgers, can we please help Garrett Wilson out this year, please? Same thing. We got Kirk Cousins for Drake London. Let's make it happen for these guys. So yeah, I know. Certain someone does not like Drake London. He should not be named, even though this is a Rainbow Bowl. But I think these quarterbacks coming in new situations, upgrading these wide receivers, like it works both ways. Like we want those guys. Justin Jefferson is just a generational talent, so I'm fine doing that. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Drake London at 9.
But
this is it's also half PPR, so that's why Amon-Ra got a little bit of a dip, but he's a monster too. Like, who cares? Any of these guys. That's my whole tier. Tier 2. Justin Jefferson at 4 to Drake London at 9. All of them. Take anyone you like.
Do the running backs are they above for you? Is that why you're leading a running back because you have them higher?
Not necessarily. But these are half PPR rankings, right? We're playing in PPR league, so it's a little bit different. Mm-hmm. But no, I just think those 4 running backs, I'm including Gibbs, are animals. I love JT this year. I think he's going to be an absolute monster. I may have to move him down. I'm just struggling taking him above Gibbs. That wasn't the concern for me a couple of months ago, but I just think, so let's take Jahmyr Gibbs and Devon Achane, right? Mm-hmm. And let's compare those situations for a second. I think you have both have an older running back kind of in front of them. Both have dynamic enough offenses where they should score plenty and move the football. Both have kind of a similar role in terms and have produced, electric results on limited work. And I think both get a boost in terms of their touches this season.
Yes.
I think Jahmyr Gibbs gets a massive boost in terms of his touches. He's bigger. He's proven that he can, handle the workload. David Montgomery seems to be slowing down a little bit. He was never as dynamic as Raheem Mostert was. But if you think about it, Mostert is what, 4 or 5 years older, and he's probably had less work over his career than David Montgomery, simply because of the injuries. And Montgomery was such a horse over on the Bears. They were just absolutely using this guy, 200 plus touches every single season. Mostert had a bunch of injury in the beginning of his career. He never was a high volume guy. And he wasn't exactly a super high volume guy last year. He just had 21 touchdowns, which was ridiculous. And I love Mostert. I just wrote him up in Fantasy Pros. I posted today that, he's going off the board as ECR. So he's not going off the board, but his ECR is RB28. Raheem Mostert finishes the RB2 last season. I think both of those guys could be RB1s. I don't think that's the case in Detroit. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is the clear winner there.
Yeah, I think with my overlying issue with Mostert, and this is reflected in the market of what is this guy has a track record of serious injury concerns. Like, he's never been a volume guy. I think he was forced into that last year, so it all kind of worked out. So he's due for massive touchdown regression. Like that offense in general, the touchdowns will probably shift a little bit because, like we talked about, in touchdowns they had running backs.
Sure.
So I think there's a lot of like issues if you draft him really high. Like, he could burn you, but at that cost, I'm totally fine with it. Like, that's RB20, whatever it is, like late 20s, like it's fine. Like, it's not going to kill you if you draft him, right? Then there's upside at that cost. It's just when we talk about him is like, if people are value him at RB1, they take him early, then that's where that could burn you because like the injury, the volume. Yeah. So like I kind of view those two guys similarly. I don't think they have the ceiling case anymore this year. And I think that's like, I just think I think Achane's really a really good player. And he's 193. Gibbs is 199 pounds. Like, they're both smaller running backs. I think he's 5'8", Gibbs is 5'9". Like, Gibbs is small too. But like, we've seen how they used him. We've seen how Achane uses him. I just think the weird thing is Achane's a better inside runner too. That's the whole thing of like kind of like why I really like Achane. I just think Gibbs has the PPR upside that we're talking about, RB1 finish, where he gets more volume in the passing game. And I think that's the biggest thing for him. We'll see if that shakes out. It could. Dude was like, I think he was RB3 down the stretch. Like, he was right behind these guys. Like, Gibbs was a stud. He took over the backfield from the bye week on. He got like 60, everything you wanted to. And we didn't fully see with Achane. So like, I get it. But like, we're drafting Achane a little bit later. So at that cost, I think there's singularly upside for Achane at that cost. Like, the guys are going around him. I don't see the upside with him. So like, once we get past JT, I actually have Achane right next to JT. So, it is what it is. But yeah, I think once you get past JT, it's like Saquon, Henry, I have them grouped together. And then it's Achane right below those guys. But it would not shock me to say Achane outscore all of those guys this year. Like, that's kind of – I think if you want to play the ceiling game, like, Achane's the true ceiling bet to make. And then you follow it up a few hours later, you get Mostert, and there you go. And you got that backfield. You're like, this is going to be glorious.
Yeah. No, I hear that. I have Mostert as my RB16. I just think he holds on to a lot of those touchdowns. I have Achane as my RB13. I think he's going to be boom bust. I think he's going to get more work, but he's not Gibbs. Gibbs is my RB5. He's running behind the best offensive line in the game right now. Jared Goff is an elite distributor of the football. He's like Brock Purdy plus in like an equally kind of efficient and good offense with all of these great weapons around him. And that offense is just going to move. Achane's going to do more, I think, himself than Gibbs, but not much more. And Gibbs doesn't have to. So, David Montgomery is still my running back 20. I mean, Monty had like something like 13 touchdowns last year. So I think that regresses a bit. But, he's still a back-end RB2 for me as well, because I think he's got one more year of, punching the ball in from short yardage and still maintaining a little bit of that efficiency, because he was crushing it at the beginning of the year anyway last year.
Yeah, he was awesome because Gibbs got hurt, right? And they relied on him, and it's kind of both those guys got hurt last year, but it's interesting that like the teams relied on those guys and they were still very good for them as far as points per game because that's all we're really chasing. I don't care how efficient you are personally. If you're giving me the points, you're giving me the points in the season. So I think those guys are good later round targets. And if they're discounted like they are with ADP, like I think they're good bets. Like it's a fun bet to make those two.
Totally agree. I'm done for now. I'm gonna go to bed.
Yeah. That sounds completely good to me. We have been like hammered on this. Don't forget, go check out the Rainbow Bowl, go check out the Trevor Project, all the things that we're supporting. We're here to generate money for charity, like that's the whole point of this. So that's why we're doing this. So anybody who can take the time out of their day and do that, be very much appreciated. We all thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Any comments, any feedback you have, we'll happily take it because the more engagement you get from us or for us, like that leads to us creating content for that. So if there's other stuff you want to see us do, we'll happily do that. But for Jeremy, myself, and the rest of the FF crew, which are not here, SC and Aaron, we're out for today. We'll be back on Sunday. We are going to be doing a Warrior Bowl giveaway, I think it is, right? So we'll be doing the Warrior Bowl giveaway. Two spots. So join in. We'll post up then either today or tomorrow where we can have people comment so they get their names right up, all this fun stuff. But anyways, for myself, for Jeremy, we're out. We're just going to end this right now. See you later, folks.